Here is another question I received a little while ago and thought it would make a good video. Should I buy the materials or the contractor? Reasons why you should to protect yourself from scams. And I don't have the time in this video to go over all the scams, but if you don't feel comfortable with your contractor, or like number 4 here, you don't trust them, then you might want to find someone who you do trust. So protecting yourself from scams, one of the most popular scams would be handing a contractor over a large sum of money to purchase materials before you even see any work done on the project. So that would be the biggest one to me. You might want to pay for the materials. You might want to have them delivered to your house and then pay for them if the contractor doesn't have the money to start the project. But you might not want to just hand them over a large sum of money. And I just mean $500 or $1,000. That's a lot of money. So if someone says, hey, I need $1,000 to start your job, and it's not a big deal to you, go for it. But if it is, and you're concerned about whether or not you're going to get scammed, then I wouldn't do it. So work something out with your contractor. To avoid overcharging, that's probably another biggie. People don't want to get ripped off. How do they figure out if they're getting overcharged? And I'm going to go into more of that at the end of the video. You get a bigger discount. And let's face it, some people actually have the ability to get materials cheaper. They might know someone, might be better negotiators, whatever it is. Number 4, you don't trust them. Contractors are some of the most, I would imagine if there was a list of people that are dishonest business individuals, contractors are going to be in the top 10. It's just notorious. It might be a request from the contractor for you to buy the materials, and this would be something you would work out with them, obviously. You have the extra time or you're retired. This would be maybe another possibility. Again, something you would work out with your contractor. And again, I'm going to go into more information on this here in a little bit. Now, here are a few reasons why you shouldn't. And that would be these simple questions. And if this is all something you can work out in a contract, great. And of course, that is the reason for a contract, to actually work out any problems before they come about. So who's going to return the bad or wrong materials? This is a biggie. If you're retired and you got all the time on your hand, then you can do it and save the money. If not, this is going to be a problem. If the contractor gives you a material list, you order the materials, but he needs one more bag of mortar, and he's not there, you're not there to go down to the store and get it, then he's got to leave the job. Is he got to go get it? Is he going to pay for it and then you're going to reimburse him? Why should he be paying for it? Because he gave you the wrong materials, and then you're going to get mad at him. Why? Because of question number 2, who's going to return the extra? Or get to keep the stuff that was left over? Or who's going to take it back? This would all be stuff that your contractor would be doing if they were the ones purchasing the materials. If not, these are things you need to consider. And number 3, this is a biggie. Some contractors won't do it. If you want to purchase the materials, they don't even want to do the job. And this would just be something to consider. Okay, wait, I'm going to find another contractor. Well, you might have to go through 5 contractors before you find somebody who's willing to do this. And the reasons why, and this would be one of the biggies for me, is because of questions number 1 and 2. Who is going to handle all this stuff? Who's going to deal with the bad lumber? If I buy a 4x12 beam, or they send me one with a lumber load that you paid for, and it's warped, do I just put it in anyway? Do I ask you about it? Do we talk? Do I call you on the phone? How much time do I waste with this? So it can be a big time waster for the contractor and actually cost them more money than, so they're going to be losing money while you're saving money, and you're going to have an unhappy contractor. And there'll be reasons why, again, the contractor won't do it. Number 4, they get a bigger discount. This would be obvious if they get a bigger discount than you and they are going to pass it on to the client. Number 5, is the discount passed on to the client, or does the contractor keep the money? Again, this is stuff you're going to have to go over. Who is responsible for mistakes? This is another biggie. I mean, what happens if someone cuts a piece of lumber incorrectly, too short, it cannot be used, or doesn't finish the concrete correctly because there was a problem? Who is going to be responsible for any mistakes made on the project where you have supplied the materials? So, for example, there was a time where I worked for a guy. I wasn't on the job. I just heard the story where they cut a long glulam beam about 5 inches short. They had to order another beam, and it took about 3 weeks to get the beam. The beam came out. Again, the guy cut it wrong, incorrectly for the second time. They waited another 2 or 3 weeks. Someone else cut the beam and they put it in and everything was okay. But this was a 6-week delay or almost a 2-month delay, if you think about it, in the project, on the project. So who is going to pay for, who's going to be responsible for mistakes that are made with your products that you purchased? So again, the contractor purchases the materials. This is going to be their deal. What about stolen materials? Contractor's going to have to replace them if they're paying for it. You're going to have to replace them if you're paying for it. Now, for the purpose of trying to provide you with a final explanation here are other things to think about. Number 1, are you comparing the materials? Are you going to get the same quality materials that the contractor is going to get? It's not uncommon in my business, framing, for example, where you might order specific types of lumber, and or your lumber salesman understands what lumber you're looking for and is going to send that material to your job. And if you're just somebody, a homeowner who goes into a home improvement center and says, here's my lumber list, get this, you might have a 5% or a 10% difference in the pricing, but are you actually getting the same materials? Now, if you're just going down and buying tile and a certain type of thin set and your contractor hands you a list of stuff to purchase, you're good to go. But there are things that you might not know enough about. So you've got to be able to compare the materials. Number 2, why are you hiring someone? If you really want to save some money, be your own contractor. Now, that would lead us to the third question. Can you do it yourself? Really? Can you really do it? These would be reasons why you're hiring the contractor. Now, last but not least, and this is probably the most important part of the video, it's simple. You have a contract from a contractor. In that contract, there should be a material price. If not, ask the contractor for the material price. Ask them for a lumber list. Ask them for something that can show you a price on how much that material is going to cost. And then you try to get that material on your own. If your contractor is not willing to do this, again, you're going to have to find another contractor. So I think to sum everything up, you've got to be able to compare the materials. You've got to know why you're hiring a contractor. And if you think you can do it yourself, you've got to ask yourself, are you sure you can do it yourself? Do you have the time to do it yourself? What are your reasons for hiring someone? And of course, number 4, everything should be in the contract. Now, I don't expect the contractor to provide you with a detailed material price, a list, because they're the ones that are actually doing the work to figure this out, what materials they need. If you have the ability to figure out the materials yourself, you should be able to get an idea on what these prices are going to be. But again, if you don't have those abilities, then you're going to have to do what most people don't do, and that will be to get more bids from other contractors until you find someone who is willing to work with you and answer all of your questions and provide you with all the details you're actually looking for.